Hello, I'm Jo Cohen and welcome to the Movie Club, where we watch all the movies to bring you the very best. Joining me is writer-director Kate Shortland as we talk about her extraordinary new movie, Lore. Lore is 15 years old when, with her younger twin brothers, sister and a baby, she must find her way across Germany in those tumultuous days following the end of World War II. We have seen many movies about the hardships people face during this black and horrific time, but there is something quite different and unsettling about this film. You see, Lore, like her parents, is a Nazi.
Unser Führer ist tot, Lore.
Ist ins Gefängnis.
Du darfst nie vergessen, wer du bist.
Mutter, Vater.
Kate, what drew you to this astounding story?
I was very interested in the whole idea of making a film about the perpetrators and the children of perpetrators and just what that means, whether the kids are actually responsible or whether it's total indoctrination.
And it's really interesting because it is quite jarring to watch. We're so conditioned to understand our characters in a certain way. What do you think it is about Lore in particular that makes her such an intriguing character?
It's based on a lot of families that we researched. So the fact that her father is a really high-ranking Nazi and she starts the film thinking her dad's a hero and then very quickly discovers he's a murderer. I think the viewer can relate to that in a strange way. Instead of looking at it like it's a regime of monsters, we're looking at it on a very personal level.
But they're mourning the death of the Führer. That's hard. Now, how do you portray that in such a way that isn't going to... Well, do you care if it jars people? Do you want it to jar people?
I think we want it to jar people because the whole idea that the Allies took over in 1945 and people stopped loving the Führer and stopped believing in National Socialism is a complete fallacy. And it was people in Dresden, in Hamburg, in Berlin that really changed and turned against the National Socialism. But most of Germany in the rural areas continued to believe in it for a very long time. I get so angry when I think about what happened to the victims, but I also think if you put yourself in that position, what would we all do now? And that's the question the film asks as well of the audience.
It holds a mirror up and it's quite confronting. A lot of people would know you from your previous film, Somersault, and it was interesting watching Lore having to grow up like that. Like instantly her whole world is ripped apart. Where do you think her strength comes from?
What we wanted was for there to be this sexual attraction between the lead male character, Thomas, and Laura. So she's got this fight going on between her thoughts, her indoctrination and physical passion. You must sacrifice yourself. And that's what the kids had been told. That was part of Hitler Youth. We also wanted it to feel for the audience that she was a really sensitive and messed up girl in the middle of this.
She was a victim in this. She had no choice and now she's suffering through it, but now she has to take responsibility for some of that simply because of who she was in her family.
Yeah, it's really interesting talking to Saskia Rosendahl, who's our 18-year-old actor that plays Laura.
Did a beautiful job.
Who does a beautiful job. And she speaks about, as a young German, the difference between guilt and responsibility. So guilt is inactive. It means that you are consumed with something that's not helping anybody. But she talks about taking responsibility as a culture, as a country, for your actions and making that active. And I think that's the beautiful thing about our character really at the end, is whether she'll act or just keep... be consumed by what her country's done.
This is a movie that will make you think. It is a powerful piece of filmmaking, telling the story of those many have felt have not deserved to have their story told. There is no question that Lore is complicated, but it is also beautiful and haunting, and for a film set against such an enormous backdrop of politics and war, incredibly human. Hit us up on Facebook and tell us what you think, and we'll see you next time on The Movie Club.